We're starting. I'm Joe.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever time zone you're in. Welcome back to Sip&Talk. I'm Sunny.
And a huge welcome to all of our Sip&Talkers tuning in today. I'm incredibly pumped for today's topic.
Same here. We are looking right at the bleeding edge of global tech today. We are getting into AI intellectual property, this wild concept called model distillation, and the sociological psychology behind how innovation actually happens.
Yeah, and before we really get into the weeds, I just want to set the tone for you listening. Our objective on Sip and Talk is always to give you an international, completely objective perspective.
Right, impartial.
Exactly. We are purely looking at facts, data, and behavioral psychology today. We encourage independent thinking, so we are absolutely not taking any political sides or discriminating against any nation or group.
Oh, and just to be super clear, any tech companies we mentioned today, that is strictly for data reference. It is definitely not investment advice.
Right, so keep your wallets closed, folks.
Exactly. So to kick this off, I want you to imagine hiding in the back of a master teacher's classroom. You aren't there to read their textbook.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
Right. And you are not there to listen to the lecture either. You are secretly recording their exact thinking process. You know, every hesitation, every logical leap.
Oh, wow. So you were basically extracting their genius.
Yes, exactly. So you can copy it without doing a single ounce of the underlying work.
That is wild. And in the AI world, we are calling this industrial scale distillation attacks. It sounds like a corporate sci-fi thriller, but it is happening right now.
It really is, and we have the hard data to back it up.
Yeah, if you look at the April 2026 reports from Anthropic and OpenAI, the numbers are just staggering. They detail how specific overseas AI labs, namely places like DeepSeek and Minimax, allegedly utilized tens of thousands of proxy accounts.
Tens of thousands?
Yes. Just bombarding frontier models like the Claude and GPT series with over 16 million high-frequency queries.
That is a massive scale. But they aren't just asking for simple answers, right?
No, not at all. They are forcing the frontier models to output what is called their chain of thought.
Right, the internal scratch pad.
Exactly. They are extracting the actual model weights and the reasoning logic to go and train their own smaller derivative models. They were literally forcing the AI to do their homework for them.
I mean, doing that still takes serious hardware, though. How are they even getting the compute power for those secondary training runs?
Well, that brings up the hardware smuggling reality. Because despite strict export controls, massive amounts of NVIDIA Blackwell chips are flowing through third-country cloud clusters.
Wait, really? Like where?
Places like Southeast Asia. They use these offshore clusters to power the secondary training.
Okay, let me put this into a sip-and-talk analogy for you. It is like, well, I love my oat milk lattes, right?
You definitely do.
So imagine I spent years creating the absolute perfect secret recipe for a milk tea. And someone sneaks a sip, takes it to a lab, reverse engineers the exact chemical ratios, and then loudly markets it as their own independent R&D.
Yeah, that is not research. That is just unpaid reverse engineering.
Exactly. It is stealing the recipe.
But, it does beg the question, why does it matter if a model is distilled as long as it gives the right answers?
Oh, it matters a lot. Because of something called fragile foundations. There is this illusion of a miracle breakthrough sometimes.
Right, the whole Chinese miracle illusion in the tech space.
Yeah, you see these models touted as completely independent R&D, but they are actually built heavily on open source architectures like Meta's Llama.
Yeah, they just repackage it for government subsidies and national pride. The April 2026 Special 301 report really highlighted that.
And the financial contrast between the two methods is just mind-blowing.
Oh, it is staggering.
Yeah.
In early 2026, U.S. big tech, so Microsoft, Amazon, Meta, Google, they projected over $400 billion in AI R&D.
$400 billion? That is a massive amount of capital and risk.
Exactly. The trial and error phase is incredibly expensive. But distilling a model, it costs less than $10 million to achieve 90% of the performance.
They are entirely skipping the hardest part of the process.
Yeah, but by skipping that, they miss the most critical part, which is the soul of the AI, the safety alignment.
Right, because the frontier models spend billions to ensure the AI behaves ethically.
Exactly. Distilled models only capture the shell of the intelligence. They might ace a benchmark coding test, but they completely break down when faced with extreme moral dilemmas.
Because they literally lack the master teacher's core value judgment system.
You nailed it. They don't actually understand why something is right or wrong. They just memorize the syntax.
Actually, let me play devil's advocate for a second here.
Go for it.
Doesn't OpenAI just scrape the internet for data anyway? I mean, aren't they all just predicting probabilities? Why is distillation so much worse?
That is the big scraping versus cloning debate. And it's a huge logical trap.
Okay, dismantle it for me.
Let's look at 3 dimensions. First, the target. Scraping uses fragmented public data, like books and news. Distillation targets highly processed, massively expensive, finished reasoning logic.
So it is raw ingredients versus a fully baked cake.
Exactly. Second, the nature of the action. Scraping is like reading books in a library to learn how language works. Distillation is like literally scanning someone's brainwaves and injecting them directly into another brain.
Wow, that is a very visceral image.
It is. And the third dimension is legality. Scraping usually falls under fair use and basic robots protocols.
Right, standard web crawling.
But distillation is a direct breach of API terms of service. It is a calculated erosion of commercial trade secrets.
Which explains the heavy policy response from the U.S.
Oh, absolutely. The White House issued the National Science and Technology Memorandum No. 4, which is NSTM4.
And that officially defined industrial-scale distillation attacks, right?
It did. And it pairs aggressively with the March 2026 CF's Act.
The Chip Security Act. Yeah.
Exactly. And the tech scene is fighting back using behavioral fingerprinting.
Okay, what is behavioral fingerprinting?
It is basically how they permanently ban API accounts that exhibit query patterns that look like that brain scanning we talked about. They look at the behavior, the weird cadence of the questions, not just the IP address.
That is fascinating. But let's pivot from silicon chips to human behavior.
Let's do it.
Why is this predatory extraction method so incredibly prevalent?
It really comes down to the sociology of it. It's the scarcity mindset.
Right, the social evolution disconnect.
Exactly. Think about a society leaping from extreme poverty to immense economic power in just 30 to 40 years.
That is a massive, rapid transition.
It is. And the material wealth completely outpaces the evolution of moral, rule-based frameworks.
So you end up with low-trust societies playing zero-sum games.
Yes. The mindset becomes resources are strictly limited. If I don't grab it right now, someone else will.
Right, so following the rules is actually seen as foolish, and exploiting loopholes is seen as being highly capable.
Precisely. Open source isn't viewed as a shared reciprocal ecosystem.
It is treated like an all-you-can-eat buffet for extreme utilitarianism.
Yes. You back up the dump truck, take everything, and don't even leave a tip.
You know, I've seen this play out in real life. It reminds me of being in Paris a few years ago.
Oh, yeah. What happened?
I saw this tourist dripping in absolutely blinding luxury designer brands, just blatantly smoking in a strict non-smoking area.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I can picture that exactly.
It is conspicuous consumption, using wealth as a shield for insecurity.
Exactly.
It equates having money with the power to just trample established rules.
That is the perfect observation. And when you apply that to tech, it leads to predatory innovation.
Because of the overtaking anxiety, right?
Exactly. The anxiety of falling behind is so intense, they don't trust the slow process of time and authentic R&D.
The thrill of looting success basically outweighs the quiet pride of actually creating it.
Which brings us to the ultimate danger here. If creators know their highly expensive innovations will be instantly distilled and stolen, what do?
They lock their models down completely.
Yes. Protecting IP isn't just about corporate profits. It is fundamentally about protecting the spark of human innovation itself.
Because if we punish the pioneers, who will want to be the master teacher in the future?
Exactly. Nobody. The walls go up and the open source community dries up.
All right, for this episode, we didn't book a fancy suite. We chose cognition.
We sure did.
If this was a lot of information to process, remember, you can always listen to it twice.
Or go grab a coffee to cool down.
Highly recommend the coffee.
Definitely. Also, be sure to check out our old friend Mickey's newest vlog. He is currently on an amazing adventure in the Netherlands.
His videos are always so fun.
They really are. Head over to YouTube and search for Mickey to Life. And remember to subscribe to the Sip and Talk podcast so you don't miss our next chat. See you next time.
Bye, Sip and Talkers.